But the real question, this issue about who guards the guardians when the business model that pays for journalism is no longer there, is the real issue that troubles me. Let me ask you this, though, about the economics of newspapers. I think most people understand why classifieds have moved away from newspapers to the web, because the functionality of search online is so much more compelling. Who would ever, want to find, buy a car by wading through pages and pages of newsprint when you can just go and type in what you want and it all pops up online? But why has display advertising declined in newspapers?
I think it's partly cyclical. The big advertising financial services industry, for example, has cut back. I mean, if you look at what happened after the financial crash in 2008, although there's some signs of that coming back. The fact is that display advertising is a very powerful medium in print. It is going to a degree to the PC business, to digital. But I think we're just in a transition at the moment. We're in the sort of middle zone, no man's land, and we've yet to see how it's going to fully play out.
But looking at your paper, if you go back a decade, how much of your advertising revenues were classifieds versus display?
I'd be stretching myself to know the precise proportions. I mean, certainly if you think of the business when I took over as editor 6 years ago, probably around 70% of all our revenues were advertising. That's both display and classified. And display, by the way, was by far the greatest proportion of ad revenues, and it's now declining.
How much of that display was larger format ads for jobs in the financial services sector?
Not so much, because for us, for the Financial Times, what banks and others are looking for is essentially branding.
Right.
These are statements about values of the company, where they sit. They're not. It's not job ads.
One of your fellow editors here in Sydney, the editor of the Daily Telegraph here in Sydney, said to me the other day that he summed up the challenge this way. He said that the problem is our readers have been migrated, or have migrated avidly to the digital platform, but not so, at least not yet, the advertisers. Why do you think that is the case? We've seen classifieds are an exception, obviously, but with other advertisers, display advertising, why do you think that is not yet? Why are they not paying up comparable prices by any measure for online advertising versus what they have paid historically in print?
Well, that's for them to answer, but I certainly think that it is a different format. Print is something which seems to be more durable, but this is just a new medium, and it's what the market will bear.
Do you think that this challenge, this issue of decline in journalism and the business model supporting journalism, do you think that warrants government subsidies for public journalism? Or
absolutely not.
No.
And for the
neither do I. I'm glad you said
that. For the Financial Times, I mean, this is. I'm not a doomster here at all. I mean, it's really up to us how we decided to deal with this. Well, the answer is we are charging for content. We are confident that we have a global brand, and we're charging premium prices. And if you have a foreign correspondence network of more than 100 people, very talented people, that's the way we're going to go. It's up for others to find out why. I don't believe in government subsidies, because the fact is you would be beholden to government. There are some interesting new models in the States, philanthropic models, where for example, a distinguished former editor of the Wall Street Journal set up an organization called ProPublica, which is doing investigative journalism, and that's sustained through philanthropy. That may be a model, but certainly not government intervention.
No, that's good to hear. Now, one final question. Is there likely to be an Australian digital edition of the FT?
Well, we look at all options, and we recognise that the Australian market is a very vibrant market, and the business story is really good in Australia, so we'll look at it. But there's a few other people tapping my shoulder, notably in Sao Paulo, in Brazil. They'd like their own homepage as well.
Very good. All right, well, it's great to see you, and thanks for having a chat.
No, it's a pleasure, Malcolm.